Hello, good evening. We're live. Just spend a few minutes here just to make sure you're here. If you're here, give me a bell, send me a comment, let me know. A few minutes at 7. So yeah, is there anybody here yet? Vicky, hi. It's oh great, Monica, hello darling. This is so exciting. I'm so excited. Patricia, hi. Susan, that's great. So we'll just wait a few minutes, I think, until most people are here at least. So let's see now. I have to figure out how to see these comments. So we have 4 people here so far, have we? If you've just come in, can you just give me a little comment, let me know that you're here? Very exciting. I've been nervous all day, and many of you have called me to say that you're nervous, and yeah, so you weren't as nervous as I was, but that nervous energy is good. I think it depends what way you look at it, and I choose to look at it that nervous energy is my nervous system firing up, getting ready for that rush of energy and awareness and connection, for my guides to come through, for things to happen. Uh, we start talking about things that I didn't even know I was going to talk about. So that's what that nervous energy is for. Hi guys. Just give me a wee comment if you're just come in. I don't know if the comments have actually stuck or not, or what do we see? Oh, I see now here. Oh, here, yeah. I'm beginning to see more of you now here. Karen, Catherine, you're here. Linda, and Julie, you're here. So quite a few of you here, yeah. Whenever you comment, I may not see your comment immediately. Kelly, you were the last to comment there. Elisa, great. That's brilliant. Emma, great. So everybody's coming in now. Everybody's flooding in. That's fantastic. Susan, Susan, hi. Marie, hi. Okay. So yes, very exciting. Today is the first week of our 6 weeks of um, masterclass, learning how to connect with spirit, learning how to use your intuition, and discovering the ascension process and how to develop our soul, connect with our soul, and develop and rise and ascend. And so lots to talk about. And today we're going to keep things pretty simple. Today we'll keep things pretty simple. As a rule, I like to simplify things. Some of these concepts that we're talking about can get very complicated, very intricate. I mean, we're talking about the fact that I am basically the center of the universe, and the universe itself and myself is one and the same thing. So, you know, we talk about separation consciousness, we talk about unity consciousness, being the idea that I'm very much aware and acting out of that awareness that the universe is a projection of my consciousness. So as opposed to separation consciousness, where each one of us is an individual person with individual thoughts, an individual soul, and an individual journey. And so that can get very complicated and very intricate, and I like to simplify it as much as possible. So we'll be talking about very simple concepts to begin with, and then when we get a little bit more intricate, a little bit more complicated, that's when I'll try to bring it all back into the simple for you. So there are some beginners, and hi Sharon, Yvonne, hi Anne, hi Linda. Yeah, there's some absolute beginners that really have no experience with connecting with spirit, using their intuition, maybe spiritually aware to a degree. And then there's quite a few of you that have had some experience with the spirit world, being able to connect, your spirit guides, things like that. But there's actually quite a lot of you that are very advanced, which will make my job very easy tonight. And some of you guys might feel that where I'm going is where what you already know. But that's the beauty, I think, of this kind of work. I do it all the time. I reiterate what I think I know. I go back over it. I look at it again. I see it from different perspectives. I talk to other people and get other perspectives from other people, and that helps me to grow and to change and to not get my perspective sort of bogged down, and this is the way it is, that kind of thing. So yeah, we'll be starting soon. Just checking now to see. Oh, there's quite everybody's coming in now. That's great. Hi Susan. So yeah, let's kick off. It's 7 minutes past, and maybe we'll just wait another couple of minutes, I think, just to make sure that everybody's made the deadline. So tonight we'll be talking about mostly about consciousness. What I was saying earlier about the universal self and what we might call the personal self, me and the universe, you and the universe, and the relationships that are in between you and the universe, how you're both the same, and how those relationships get more and more simple. As we talk about it, you'll see how the various relationships with spirit, and relationships with angels, and relationships with spirit guides, and archetypal source, and source itself, you'll find that those relationships, you'll find that even over the 6 weeks, you'll find, or I'll help you to understand and to find that those relationships are all reflections of me, of you, of the self. And so then you can pull the whole thing in. What's the big universal self? You can just pull all of that in. And it's I, in the center, I am, and I project, and I create, and this is my creation. You pull it all in. So we'll talk about that again. I know that some of you might not particularly understand that. Okay, so yes, today we're talking about consciousness, and we'll talk about the relationship in between the universal self and the self, the chakras, which are a huge part of that relationship. So we'll talk about the chakras, and we'll touch on the chakras, as I say, simply for now, and then as the weeks go on, we'll get deeper and deeper and deeper into them. I think one of you asked earlier on, are we going to be talking about the fifth dimensional chakras? Yes, we are, and even the seventh dimensional, but we'll be doing that as time goes on. We want to talk about tonight about the aura around the body, and we want to talk about the energy field and what the difference is between the aura and the energy field, and how they're related to the chakras as well. So lots to talk about tonight. We'll be talking to you about levels of consciousness, altered states, and the different realms of the spirit world in relation to, again, into relation to consciousness. So everything's related to consciousness, guys. Everything in the world at large, everything outside of you, everything, everyone, every idea, everything that you can see or feel or think of, even all solid form, all of that is related to consciousness. And so that we'll be talking tonight about how that actually happens. We'll also be touching on the intuition, which is very important for psychic development. So as you as you open up and develop psychically, you will also develop spiritually. And as you open up or awake and develop spiritually, you'll also develop psychically. So the two kind of go hand in hand. But definitely, whenever you do a psychic development class, it helps you to understand your spiritual development, your soul evolution. It helps you to understand what's happening to you, what you're experiencing, and it helps you to understand what spirit you're connecting to, who they are, what they want, what you do with that, and how you use all of those relationships and all of those skills to help other people. Which I think for most of us, for almost everybody in the world really, because I do believe that most people are good, but almost everybody in the world, when they embark on a spiritual journey, their desires are for, obviously, to heal their own life, to heal their body, but how can I use this to help everybody else? So, yeah. Hi Mariana, great to see you too, love. Okay, so let's begin. It's very, very strange. This is my first, well, not my first time doing Facebook Live. I did it 10 minutes last night and that was a hoot. But this is the first time that I'm actually talking to people that I can't see their face, and it's very strange. So it is very strange indeed. So you'll have to bear with me if there's a few wee odd moments where you think, oh, who's she talking to? Okay. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll begin with a little background on myself, just to give you an idea, and I'll probably from time to time keep referring to my own journey. I mean, at the end of the day, everything that I'm going to tell you guys, you know, and everything that I'm going to share with you is what I know from my perspective. You know, what I can see, what I can understand, what I perceive, what I can conceive, you know, and of course what my guides have told me, nada, nada, nada. But that's not to say that you will be exactly the same. You know, when I'm talking about spiritual development, my spiritual concepts and ideas and views on spiritual concepts and ideas may be a little different from the way that you've seen things to date, and maybe even the way that you'll continue to see them, because we've all got different perspectives, you know. We can all look at this glass and we're seeing something different. You know, I can see my thumb first and I can see the glass, but you see my fingers and then you see the glass past the fingers, you know. So If I was talking about the glass, I probably wouldn't even mention the fingers. You know, if I was looking at it to say what I see in front of me, what I know to be true. So it's the same with concepts. You know, everybody's intuition is connected to their own spirit, to their own consciousness, to their own individual consciousness. And so your individual consciousness is slightly different than my individual consciousness. We've got different experiences. We've certainly got different experiences in this life, but we've got different experiences in previous lifetimes as well. And we'll also be talking about the idea of previous lifetimes and past lives, and how that relates to this life, and so on and so forth. So we'll be talking about that, I think, is it week 3, I think it is, week 3 or week 4? Week 4 we'll be talking about that. But most of these things that I have down in the syllabus for week 1, week 2, week 3, so on and so forth, we may touch upon, you know, concepts that we'll be talking about later in more detail. And that's because when you're talking about this kind of, I mean, some of you know yourselves, when you're talking about these kind of concepts, it's difficult to start at A and finish at Z. You can't do that, because A to Z, it's all intricate and intertwined through each other, you know. So you might go from A to X, and then start again at B, and then go to Y, and then start again at C, and go to A, you know, because these things are, you know, they're like a ball. They're like an orb of energy and information and data and consciousness, and it doesn't go in a straight line. It's all together in one point. And your intuition, which is what you will develop to use the psychic senses, your intuition then becomes your link to all of that data, all of that information that's in this orb, which is your consciousness. So I was talking about me. Every so often, yes, I will go quiet. And I'll just allow that space, that quiet space, where your consciousness is going ding, ding, ding. And you're reconnecting to yourself through your intuition. I had this connection all my life. It began, it must be infancy, because I don't remember it beginning, and I do have memories of infancy, of Black Elk, my spirit guide, and Black Elk would tell me he was always there, So, you know, I was born as a shaman, connected to the spirit world, and I never lost that connection. So I've been using my intuition most of my life. And you know what, guys? So have you. Everybody does. Everybody has been using their intuition for most of their life, possibly without even knowing it. You know, you get a gut feeling, or you get shivers when you walk past a graveyard, you know, or you go into a big cathedral and you get this, oh gosh, you feel the silence and the sort of the eminence that's there in front of in the middle of a big forest, or in front of a sunset or the sunrise. You get those moments where you connect with the power of eminence. And what that does to you, it resonates with you, it resonates with your body and your soul. And your intuition is what's in between there. What's in between the outside and the inside. What's in between your consciousness, your subconscious, and your conscious. Your thoughts, your awareness. So it's intuition that is the medium, the true medium, and what lies on this side of intuition is your conscious mind, your ego mind. A lot of people call that your ego mind, and I'll be calling that ego for a while. And on the other side of your intuition is that spirit, soul, the subconscious world that you don't see, but you can feel it. So when the sun rises or the sun's setting, or you go into a cathedral, or you're in the middle of a forest and you look up through the trees, it's like, wow. Or out to the sea from the cliff, wow. And you feel it, you know. That's your intuition that's allowing you to feel that. That's clairsentience. That's one of the psychic senses. Everybody has it. People forget that they have it. They forget how to use it. And they may be too busy in their monkey mind, you know, I've got to do this today, that today, whatever. Oh, look, there's a cow. Oh, gee, there's your man that I saw yesterday. Oh, I haven't seen him in ages. You know, how you doing? That monkey mind distracts you from the silence, distracts you from the eminence of the world around you, and distracts you from your resonance, your reaction to the world around you. So the intuition becomes a door that's closed. It's not open. Did you hear that? My doorbell rang. Isn't that funny? My doorbell rang just as I was talking about the intuition becoming a door that's closed. Okay, so yeah, I was connected to Black Elk, using my intuition to using my clairvoyance, my clairaudience, clairsentience. I used all the psychic senses, taste, smell, scanning even with my hands, just touch, clear touching. I used all of those to take myself into another world completely. I created another world other than the physical world, and to me that was just as real as the physical world with my family and school and what have you and whatnot. And a Black Elk was there all the time. There was a period between age 13 when I had a very traumatic experience. I had traumatic experience all my life, but at 13 it came to a head, extremely traumatic experience, and my intuition, or you could say Black Elk, my spirit guide, told me that it would seem like he's shutting down. It would seem like it's shutting down now, and I'm going into like a dark place of wilderness, but that I would come back. And then he would never truly be gone, because it can't, your intuition can't go away. The door might be closed because you're not using it, but once you decide to open it again, it's opened. It's opened. And I'll teach you very, very simple steps to connect with it, and you will find that you're connecting with it like that. You know, some people say, oh no, well, do you know, Eliza, I've done that exercise that you were talking about, and it doesn't feel that I got anything, or that I received anything. But just sometimes it takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of faith in yourself, and just the right conditions. And whenever you move forwards like that, you will eventually connect to your intuition, and whoa, you'll be receiving stuff that you never realized you could receive at all. So hopefully I'll be able to give you some very simple exercises, and for you to sit down and connect. But people connect in all sorts of different ways. And as I say, I lost my connection for a while, and then I had a near-death experience. I think I always had that gut feeling, that sort of intuition in that way, empathically. Like most of you guys, you know what an empath is. An empath is someone that sucks all the energy up from around herself or himself. That someone comes with an angry attitude towards them, that they feel that in their stomach. You can feel it in your belly, and it makes you shake. And it's part and parcel of the spiritual development, as learning, how is it that you do feel like this around other people? How can you not be an empath? Because empathy is something that we all have. Some of us are stronger than others with regards to empathy. So we'll be talking about that. Usually the people that are very empathetic are people that have suffered. People that have suffered. As they say, spirituality or religion is for people who have found Jesus or found God, and spirituality is for people who've suffered. And then discover that actually, Jesus or God or and whoever is all, part of the whole repertoire, which is consciousness. So yeah, 2002 then I had a near-death experience, and propelled into the spirit world for just a minute. It was just for a minute that I was dead, and then came back and met St. Paul, who happens to be the Master Hilarion. He's an incarnation of Master Hilarion, St. Paul, and he says, yeah, you've got work. The typical sort of, the tunnel of light, and the light being sent you back. You've got work to do. So a very sort of what would be the word? Common, for want of a better word, the common typical life after death, near death story. That was my experience, and I hope that I can talk to you about that later in the weeks, because quite possibly the last week, because I think that when you discover the feeling of the process of dying, and understand that process and what you see and what's said to you and all the rest in relation to, again, to consciousness. I bring everything back to consciousness, guys. Everything back to the self. Once you discover that process and that relationship to the self, it's just astonishing. It's like, oh my God, of course. Now I want to talk about the now moment. Saying that made me think about the now moment. The now moment is that here and now, the body, the mind, body and spirit, here now, the self, just me, and using my 5 physical senses. This is the now moment, and I use those 5 physical senses to interact with time, with form outside of me, the idea of other people, relationships, conversation, all of that. I use those five senses to interact with all of that. But those five senses are very intrinsically linked to your psychic senses as well. And not a lot of people understand that. I've noticed. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the way I talk about it. But as I said before, I can only talk about it in the way that I understand it, the way that I've been shown by my guides and led to see. But your consciousness, if you imagine your brain, and you've got your unconscious, you've got your subconscious, and you've got your conscious mind. So you've got three levels of mind: unconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind. Well, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind are all intricate as well. These are what I would call the three levels of, or three worlds of the shaman, the Holy Trinity. And I think I posted something there earlier on today. I can just find it. I haven't got to see. I'm sure I posted that earlier on today. That I didn't print it out for myself, about the three levels: the subconscious, the conscious, the subconscious, the unconscious, and the conscious. But I talked about it in that, if I can just find it in the group. I talked about it as being source and spirit or soul, and the ego or the self, and I talked, or the body, and I talked about it as being mastery consciousness, source consciousness, or the infinite self, the eternal self, eternal consciousness, and what's in between that and the now moment is the Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, the higher self or spirit. So when you talk about intuition, when you talk about connecting to spirit, you can see like three definite layers, where you have me here, mind, body, and spirit here now, as a body, as a being, as an individual soul, an ego consciousness, and then you have it's almost like it goes up in a triangle. And you've got my ego consciousness here, my conscious mind, my ordinary consciousness, as we say in shamanism as well, ordinary consciousness. And we'll be talking about that when we talk about levels of consciousness. But so here we have me just in my ordinary mind, my ordinary consciousness, my ego mind, and then you on the second level of that pyramid or triangle, you've got spirit. And what's between spirit and the ego is your intuition. And then you have another connection, and you've got the eternal life, the eternal light, the infinite, the universal God self, if you like. And I would relate that to the unconscious. We know that God or source exists because we feel it through our intuition, but it's a mystery. Just like our unconscious. Our unconscious is allowing me to speak right now, it's allowing me to see. All of my organs and my glands and my nervous system, everything is working, and my blood is pumping. Everything is working because of the unconscious, that unconscious source. Yet we can't see that. We can't tap into that and turn it on or off. We can only feel it, experience it. And when we feel we've got a grasp on it, and I bet you will all know it now, When you feel you've got a grasp on that, you feel it and you know what it is, it expands, it evolves, and it's beyond you again. And you're constantly seeking that, you're constantly coming after it. And that's the momentum of ascension, of that process once you have your spiritual awakening, where you're raising the frequency of your energy field and you're awakening and discovering spiritual concepts and connecting to via your intuition to the spirit world, and you're getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And incidentally, in my books, in all of my books, I've got 4 of them, we begin with very simple spiritual concepts, and then right throughout the 4 books, then particularly book 2 and then into book 3, we talk about that ascension process and how that ascension process is exactly like Black Act's great vision that he had, where he climbed to the highest place of the universe and saw all life as one circle. Do you remember I talked about the orb? And it's exactly the same as the Master Jesus did as he climbed the hill of Calvary, and he climbed up seeking, and then he had that death onto his ego, and he resurrected and had his ascension into the eternal life. He became the Master, created a new world as that, a fully operational, intuitive soul on earth. And that's the process that we're on, that's the journey that we're on. For those of you who are only beginning this, that might seem astonishing, but that is the process that we're on. And you're going to wake up very, very quickly now. There's many of you in this masterclass. I know many of you are friends of mine. I know you well. I know that you're very knowledgeable, that you're awake, that you're very, very capable, even of using your intuition, and yes, and that. But there are some of you that are perhaps just wakening up now. And those of you who are awake, those who are around my age, even older, we started maybe 20, 30 years ago, and this process of awakening really started from the 1980s. For me it was 2002, but for many of you it might even have been before that. But we did the hard slog, because the momentum of awakening in the world, in the universal self, wasn't so quick back then. It was a slow progress. We had to do the slog work. We had to do the trauma work. We had to discover for ourselves what's the 4th dimension. What do they mean now when they're talking about the 5th dimension? What is the 6th dimension? And these are all things that my guide Black Axe spoke to me about as I travelled and walked that journey. And it took maybe 20, 30 years. But for the people who are just awakened now, or have awakened recently, you're going to do this much faster, because the momentum of awakening is much faster now. The people like myself that have gone before you have brought such a flood of light into the world, and we're emanating that from our souls all the time. Millions of us emanating that from our souls all the time, and that is wakening up everyone else. And as they waken, it's going to happen very quickly, because they see much more light than we did way back then. We were seeing glimmers. through the darkness. The world may seem extremely heavy right now compared to 30 years ago. But actually that extreme of heaviness that you see with the war and in the Middle East and with COVID and oh my God, so much. But we won't even go there. But the extreme of all that dark, heavy stuff is only visible. It's only been ungrounded, discovered, uncovered. That's the word I'm looking for. Kelly's asked me how long do you think it takes to fully awakened. I started about 10 months ago and feel the penny is only starting to drop now. Yeah. Well, do you know, Kelly, even, as I say, for 10 months for me, whenever I started to wake up 20 odd years ago, 20 years ago I think, after 10 months I was still pretty sleepy. I was still very groggy and oh, what's that I see, is that light, and thinking that I knew it all, that's one of the maladies of the ego. We all do it. We've all been through it. And Kelly, I think you're kind of past this, but it's a feeling of suddenly seeing this light that you didn't see before, of discovering about yourself that you didn't discover before, and you get this feeling of, oh my God, I gotta wake people up. I've got to save the world. I call it the Jesus complex. You can imagine how it was with me when I had Black Elk, who for me all my life was my imaginary friend. Didn't know he was real until I woke up and someone says to me, oh, that spirit that you're talking to, his name's Black Elk. And this is who he was. I'm like, oh my God, he's real. And so then I was thinking, oh gosh, this is very important. I got to carry on his work. This is very important. I must be very important. And it weighs heavy on a soul. The ego can have a great party with that. But very, very quickly the universe will knock you on your knees and knock that out of you. And you guys are going to learn those things very, very quickly. We did it the long way. You're going to do it very, very quickly because we have done it before you. And we're still doing it. As I say, source energy, that you connect with it, it expands, you connect with it, it expands, and you expand, and there's this continuous expansion. So it never really stops. You never really get to a stage where even the masters themselves are creating new universes and discovering new discoveries about themselves. So yes, we're consciousness. And there's 3 levels of that consciousness. The unconscious, which I like to call it the God consciousness. And we can only feel it. We can't catch it. We can never truly know it, not completely. But the subconscious is what we do know. The subconscious is what we've forgotten. The subconscious is the greatness of our souls that has accumulated over lifetimes. The subconscious is the light that is hidden in the darkness of memory loss. When the door of the intuition shut. And the intuition is what sits between your conscious mind and the subconscious. So the process of awakening, of remembering who you are as light, is a process of opening your subconscious. And for those of you who are really just beginning your journey now, and it's difficult because you're not only are you awakening to these wonderful concepts of light, and it's so joyful, such joy when you first wake up, and that never stops. There's always that connection to joy, but there's still that connection to the darkness of the subconscious, which is the traumas and the suffering and the pain and the negative thoughts that you've had about yourself all your life, and everything that from previous lifetimes and this lifetime that you've just kind of gone, do you know what? I'm not dealing with that. And it goes into the subconscious and it hides there, and it equals the light that you are. If you're this great light in the world today, and there's millions of people emanating this great light, fifth dimensional light in the world today, and some emanating seventh dimensional light in the world today, then the world is also displaying the shadow side of that. Because we live in a duality. We'll talk about singularity, which is God's self, which is 0 point, nothing, no time, no form, no thing, nothing. And we'll talk about that singularity, and then we'll talk about the duality, which is the opposite of it, which is individuality, form, time, space, all of that. We have created, through our consciousness, we have created a world of duality, a world of form, a world of time, and concepts and ideas and creation. Or you could say God has, through us. And as we see this great light in the world, there is also then its equal opposite, which is the darkness that we see in the world today. But you know what, guys? I don't look at that. I know it's there. You know, I watch the news, I know what's going on with COVID, I know what's going on in Palestine, all of those things, human trafficking, all of that terrible, terrible stuff. And my own traumas that I had throughout my life as well. I don't give that my attention. I witness it, I look at it, I can see that it's there, and then I kind of say now, and you'll learn to do this as well, and many of you have already learned to do this, I've got to the stage now where I look at it and I say, no, not in my world. And I transform that. I look at it differently, you know. Either the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. It's as simple as that. Either the world is dark or the world is bright. It's as simple as that. I put on my rose-tinted glasses. Hello, Alicia, yeah, I agree, doubt always kicks in and not feeling good enough, absolutely, I know, and it's a battle that continues. I mean, even now I still sometimes will have a thought that's like that, and it's like, oh, what if this doesn't work, and what if this goes wrong, and oh gosh, yeah, is he going to be safe out on his motorbike, you know, and my son, and then I said, no, don't go there, just turn it around, and I'll make the affirmations then. I'll say, you know, as he goes out the door, I'll say, okay, be safe. And he's out the door, and I'll say to myself, he's safe. Sometimes I might say Padre Pio has them, or Black Elk has them, or the angels have them, or whatever. And sometimes I'll say, he is safe. That's the way it is. And so it's the same whenever I look at the world and I look at myself, and I see things that seem negative. For example, maybe pains in the knees, or maybe I don't feel good enough. I can't remember who it was said that now, or I don't feel good enough. Or when is this COVID business going to stop already? And I say, okay, let's turn that around. Not my world. And I'll use the process through my own chakras, through my own soul, with that positive thought of, no, this is light, this is good, this is love, this can transform in this moment, and I'll take it through the whole process. We'll be talking about that process later on in the weeks, the process of healing, but in particular the process of creation. And I think one of the premium workshops that we'll be doing will be how to harness that process and how to turn things around like a master and change your day, change your awareness of what's happening in the world, even change what's happening in the world. No? But the thing is, guys, one of the things that Black Elk taught me right from the beginning, he used to say to me, look, bring everything back to yourself. Everything's about yourself. Everything is. There's no coincidences. Everything's related. Everything is related to the self, which is consciousness. And he used to say, I forget what I was going to say now. Talking about Black Elk, he's probably trying to get in here with the word because I haven't let him in so far. What was he going to say? I was talking about consciousness and yeah, he used to say, it's your choice what way you look at things right now. It's your choice. If you look at things with a negative viewpoint, then that's what you're going to see and that's what you're going to experience. But if you look at things with a positive viewpoint, then that's what you're going to see and that's what you're going to experience. And it is as simple as that. When you first wake up and you're healing your body and healing your trauma, it doesn't feel that it's that simple. But you will soon learn that it is that simple as you progress with that healing. And I'm going to give you great tips for self-healing. I'm a powerful healer. And Black Elk has taught me that. I came to this life being a powerful healer. Black Elk showed me how it all works and helped me to harness it. Whereas now, I will not accept what feels bad, what feels wrong, what looks wrong. Paddy would say, I won't accept a fish out of water. It doesn't belong there, flapping about on the riverbank, suffering. It's a pitiful sight. I put it back, I pick it up and I put it back in the water. And I do it like that. And that's what I'm going to teach you guys in one of the premium workshops. How to do that. So very, very quick and very easy ways to overcome negativity, overcome any feelings that you're not good enough, overcome any negativity and of maybe lack of confidence, feeling that you're perhaps not aware, maybe confusion, all of those things. We've all been through them, and we all still go through them from time to time. There's nobody is the perfect master here on earth that is living in light all of the time. I mean, there are people, that have mastery souls, but even the masters themselves teeter back and forth from light to dark, you know, and that's a good thing to do because that's balance. You know, you'll find that on your journey that it's balance that is the perfect place. Balance is peace. You know, I went out earlier on today and lay down on my sunbed outside just to have a nice, quiet, peaceful moment, clear the monkey mind, you know. And and I come into the 0 point and I come into that feeling of the self being the orb, and it's deep and it's quiet and silent, and you touch then upon singularity consciousness, and the universe disappears for a while. And that's mastery awareness. But the real mastery is when you open your eyes again and you see the world around you and see the garden and you start to talk to people and you still act out of that peaceful point, that balance point where you're between creation and non-creation, you're between the light and the dark, you're between up and down, you're between the duality and the singularity. So that's where we're going. Okay, let's look at the, what time is it? What time is that? Get my glasses on. So it's 8 o'clock, we've got an hour, that's great. Let's look at the relationship between the singularity and the duality. Let's look at the relationship between the unconscious and your conscious ego. Let's look at the relationship between the eternal light, spirit, and the ego, or the body. And let's look at the intuition and discover ways of how you can start to use that today and tomorrow and right through to next week, so that you can come back next week and say, you know what, Eliza, I sat down and did that exercise you asked me to do, and guess what? I'm receiving from spirit. And as I said before, it is a very simple process because everybody has their intuition, and once you discover what's the easiest way for you to use it, you'll find that you're using it stronger and stronger, and stronger and stronger all the time. The chakras then are part of that intuition, part of that in between space between the body, the ego consciousness, and the spirit, and unity consciousness, and God and eternal light, or the experience of source, the experience of the singularity. The chakras are what bring God into form, what bring light into form. And the chakras are what allow that form to discover itself again as light. So, you know, there is that phrase, everything is energy and energy is light. I love that phrase. Everything is energy and energy is light. You know, as light comes forth into the world from 0 point, it projects forth into the world. They say in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was sent forth, and the Word became flesh. So I like to think of that as in the 0 point, which is God, mystery, the great mystery, or source, whatever you want to call that. Light simply is, and it's projected forth. And light is a word, light is an intention, light is information, it's data. And when it meets with the body, when it meets with its equal opposite point, it becomes, I like to say it, the Christ, but it becomes creation. It creates form. Light becomes energy, energy becomes form. and that never stops. I like to talk whenever I'm teaching in my shamanic classes. Um, I like to talk about how the 0 point and then the light's projected forth, and you've got a straight line then, and it gravitates, of course, then to an equal opposite, because every projection has consumption, so it gravitates towards its equal opposite, and you've got these two equal, which I call divine feminine and divine masculine. So you've heard of those terms. These two equal sources are coming together, and one's not greater than the other because one is an exact equal opposite of the other. So you can imagine if you've got two streams of light coming towards each other like that, like two laser beams even, you know, then what you get is, when it comes into the middle, is this a circle. It'll meet, and one won't overcome the other, so it'll just, the big bang, it'll splash out, it'll create this shape, like a form, like a sphere, and this is the soul. This is the soul. So the soul continues to spin and continues to spin and continues to spin. But you know what? That divine masculine projection that came from 0 point in the beginning doesn't stop. It keeps projecting. Because remember I said source never stops. It just keeps going, and we're always almost like following it. So it keeps projection. So what happens is, this soul that was the baby of divine masculine and divine feminine light, this soul, which is creation, which is you, which is me, which is any soul, is also projecting and consuming. So you remember I talked about that we emanate from our energy field, but we also consume. So we're breathing in and out, and as we breathe in and out, it's almost like this, our energy field is like a circle that expands out and then expands in and expands out and then retracts in, expands out and then retracts in. And that creates something that we call the toroidal field, a torus, and we'll talk about the torus later, but not for now. We keep it simple for now. So that process of creation, where you've got divine feminine, divine masculine coming together, you've got a soul, and that soul, the divine masculine keeps projecting, emanating from that soul, and then it meets up with an equal opposite. So what happens then is another soul is created, and then another soul is created, and you have what's called the Genesis pattern, where some people call it the flower of life, by Drumbelow Melchizedek. Amazing books, the flower of life. If you're anyway left-brained at all, you know, intelligent, read the flower of life. It's not for those that are very right-brained, you know, because it can be a little hard to understand, but it's like what I'm, you know, the things that I say tonight, you know, I'll be talking about a lot of concepts that some of you may find it difficult to understand, and it's okay. You don't have to take notes, you don't have to understand completely, because it's going in. It's going in. And the reason it's going in is because it's light. I'm emanating light, which is information, which is you could say codes, that's awakening the DNA within your soul. And suddenly your subconscious is opening, and you know exactly what I've been talking about. It might take a day, it might take a week, it might take a month, it might take a year. It'll not take a year. But tonight you might not understand something, and then next week suddenly, oh, because the reason you suddenly understand it is the universe brings it back to you. in a way that you can understand from your perspective, not from my perspective. You see? We're waking each other up. We're all awakening each other. There's no need for a Messiah or Jesus complex to be out there, pumping it, wake up, wake up, wake up. We're wakening people up by wakening ourselves up. And that's one of the things the Black God pumped into me from the beginning. He used to say, Eliza, what you're doing to yourself, you're doing to everybody. Just as the great Master Jesus said, what you do to other people, you do to me. You do to the self, What we do to the universal self, we do to the personal self. And when the personal self awakens, the universal self awakens. And it's all because of the intuition. And the psychic senses and the chakras are tools that the chakras are being used subconsciously or unconsciously. The chakras are being used. They were being used before we even knew they were a thing. All of this was happening before we even knew it was a thing. Before we woke up, we were already masters of this. It is. It's amazing, isn't it? It is amazing. Thank you. Yeah, not in my world, really. I love that too. Not in my world. Yeah. Yeah. By awakening yourself, by opening your subconscious and doing the work and walking the path, you are automatically, without even trying. Actually, when you try, you're going nowhere, because it's only your ego that's trying. You automatically, the soul knows to emanate that light. The soul's emanating the light that you are awakening to. When you remember, oh yes, I'm light. And you close your eyes and you see this beautiful, maybe violet light, very common one, from the crown chakra that we connect to immediately. You don't have to go out into that world and say to people, okay, I'm going to show you how to see this violet light and it's going to wake you up. I mean, you can do that. Why not? You don't have to. Just be that violet light and you will heal and people around you will wake up. The chakras are a lot of various colours, it's all light. The chakras are like, I think some people call them like spinning wheels. The word chakra, I think, is Sanskrit. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but the chakras are like spinning wheels. Some people see them as petals in some of the Eastern traditions, and they're spinning from left to right all the time. Everything spins from left to right. All of creation, spirit, everything goes from left to right. That orb that I said is everything and nothing at the same time. It spins from left to right. That creation, that soul, that between the divine feminine, divine masculine, they come together. That orb, it spins from left to right. And when it's spinning from left to right, it brings joy, excitement, nervous energy. When you come into the body, bliss. When you come into the body and we start to look into the nervous system and that, then it brings cortisol, it brings dopamines, bliss again in a chemical way. And the body then is a replica of the soul. The body's a replica of the universe, even of the earth. The earth is a replica of the universe, and the body's a replica of the earth. You know, we're not living on the earth, we are the earth. Your body is my body. All form outside of you is part of your soul. All form is one form, and all soul is one form, and yet that's the conundrum. And yet it's all individual at the same time. You know, there is no such thing as time. Everything is right now 0 point, nothing. And yet time exists for millions and millions and millions of years of existence. And space exists in the wide open cosmos, and all of the universe and galaxies that exist. It is mind blowing. And all of that is connected to the self. All of that's connected to consciousness. Okay, so chakras. I've put up a very simple. You'll see when the tutorial's over, you can have a look at it, and I'll show you the pictures for now. But I've uploaded onto the group a very and I've put it all into a photo album, so you can see the photo album named Week 1. There's a picture there of the 7 main bodily chakras, and I'm sure all of you are aware of the 7 main bodily chakras. It's the first thing that you become aware of when you wake up. People are suddenly talking about chakras, and for me 20 years ago, I mean that was a huge thing, but there wasn't that much known about them 20 years ago. Not in my community. But as I walked the path and awakened, then I joined wider and wider communities with higher and higher frequency and more awareness of chakras. And so I learned more and more about chakras. And then, of course, I have my intuition to help me see my unique perspective on that. So there's the 7 main chakras there, and we'll go quickly through them because I know you guys are very much aware of those. The root chakra, excuse me, which gives off like a red light, and they correspond to the rainbow. And of course the rainbow is a circle as well, isn't it? We only see one half of that sphere, but it's actually a circle. I really do. I've been trying for years to figure out the science around how do we only see half of that orb, you know, as a rainbow, when we can see the full orb. If we take maybe a shot with a camera, and we can maybe see the rainbow orb and that, and see the full spectrum of light then. So that's something that I'm still working on. But that rainbow, so you've got the red, which is the root chakra, which is the densest light frequency, and it gives off a sort of a red colour. And then as the frequency gets lighter, it goes into like an orangey colour, and that's the sacral chakra. And then it gets lighter again, the frequency gets lighter again, and then you see the sort of yellow colour, the solar plexus, and then it gets lighter again, then you're into the heart chakra, which is the green, and then lighter again into the throat chakra, which is the turquoise or the light blue, and then into the third eye, and into the crown chakra, which is the dark purple or the indigo, and then the violet light. And that violet light, as I said before, that's probably the first light that you'll see when you begin to meditate. You know, when you first wake up, you'll see this beautiful violet light. And the reason for that, guys, is because this is where you connect to the spiritual realms. You know, it feels like the connection is here. So, you know, where the root is your connection to the earth, the crown chakra is the connection to spirit, or what you think is outside of yourself, you know, the cosmos. Because we like to think that spirit's up, don't we? And the earth's down. And that's because of the duality. But really, it's this, isn't it? It's the circle, and it's all one. So these things are within us, really not without us at all. They're within us. But so when we talk about spirit, we like to think of above, and that's why we feel that this is the connection to spirit, which we think is above us. And the root chakra is the connection to the earth, which we think is below us. And then you've got the center, which is the heart chakra and the solar plexus center chakra. You've got that green one in the heart, and the solar plexus one in the stomach. And that's your interaction with the world around you. The heart holds your interaction with relationships. You relate emotionally through the heart, and you hold all of that energy there, and take it in and out of yourself as you breathe in and out, and as you emanate and resonate, you hold all that energy there. And some people hold on to that for too long, and then it starts to hurt, and trauma and pains and deceptions and betrayals and all sorts of things that we have in relationships, but also joys and bliss and fun and love. And love. Let's not forget about that. All those things are felt here, but in this center, in the solar plexus center, and if you can see, in the solar plexus center here, the yellow chakra, that's where we connect with the outside world in relation to our inside world, in respect to the body, in respect to not the emotional realms, not the emotional self, but the physical self, or even the etheric self. We create atmosphere through the solar plexus, and atmosphere is energy. And you know that energy is light that becomes energy that becomes form. So from the solar plexus, that's where we're creating the world. In every moment we're creating this world, creating time, creating space, creating form, because we are the masters that we didn't know we were until now, and we always were those masters. And this journey that we're on is not a journey of becoming a master. It's a journey of remembering how to be that master. Remembering how to live that way, how to live consciously. I'm having one of those moments where I'm just letting the energy sink in. Yeah, Sharon, just be love. Just be love. Because love is the energy of God. Love is the energy of source. Love is the energy of that perfect balance between your subconscious and your conscious. Love is that unconscious force that we never quite grasp, but we can feel it. But you can't hold it in your hand. You can't touch it. You can feel it. You feel it here, of course. And when we just be love, as Sharon says, when we just be love, not, I mean, that's fine for you to say, Sharon. You're doing this. You're in this game a very long time, and you've got to a stage where you can just be love. But for those at the beginning, it's, well, how do you just be love? When there's all this pain, and all this anger and all this need, and I understand all that only too well. I mean, I had many years of it, but most of my life. But as you shift your frequency, as you emanate the light that you're waking up to, the universe awakens, and that universe includes your body and your subconscious. So your subconscious is opening up, and as you heal the various parts of your traumas, of your pains and relationships and that, you're healing yourself, you're healing everyone else, and you're becoming very fast remembering how to be love. You know, as we say, you're light, and light is a singularity. But when light comes into the duality, then light is love. And we say light and love. I'll send you light and love. You know, we don't say, okay, bye, see ya. We say, okay, bye, light and love. You know? We know what we're talking about. We're talking about those two very fundamental identities of Source, if Source has an identity at all. Light, love. So be light, be love. And the only way to be that is to take everything back to the self. So that's the 7 main chakras. And then you'll see this, you'll see that, oh, I can't see you and see it at the same time, but you'll not see me for a while. What do you see? I need to pull this back a bit, do I? Oh, here, there we go. So you'll see that diagram in the photo album as well. And on this side here, you'll see the various chakras, 13 of them described there, because those 7 chakras that are within our body are not the only chakras. They're the 7 bodily chakras that you see in creation in form. All form, whether it's a person or a rainbow or a plant or an animal, will have those 7 main lights, have that sort of spectrum of 7 chakras, and the earth has them as well. But there's also 5 others, 5 main others, and they seem to be outside of our body. As I said before, not really outside of our body, because we think that spirit is outside of our body. So these chakras seem to be above us. And as you make your ascension, as you raise the frequency of your body, of your soul, when you awaken and you start to remember that you're light, and your body's enlightening and itself, and your mind is becoming enlightened, and your subconscious is wakening up, and you're remembering who you are as a light being, as a light worker, then the frequency of your energy field starts to shift. It starts to get lighter and lighter and lighter, not so dense anymore. The most dense form on earth must be rock. The lightest form could be a rainbow, let's say a rainbow. The lightest form that we can conceive is maybe an angel, an archangel. No, but it's all love and it's all light. Just come together in various stages of consciousness, various densities. And the chakras are what's in between light and love, what's in between body and soul, what's in between the unconscious and the ego consciousnness. The intuition is in between that, the chakras are in between that, your psychic senses are in between that. All of those things relate to the unconscious, which is God, eternal light, and the ego, or the body, which is the earth form, ego consciousness, even your own ego. your own everyday thinking mind. But these ones outside of the body, as you rise up, you'll go up through the chakras. You'll rise. Most of us live around the, before we wake up. Most of us are pretty much in the heart chakra. We're loving beings. We care. You will find people in the world who are, some people say are very evil. They're acting out of their base desires, real carnal desires. They're locked in the root chakra. Their root chakra is dark and they're down there and they can't get out of it, you know. But for most of us, when we wake up, we're already in our heart's chakras, but we already are emanating with this love frequency. And as we awaken more, we rise into the throat, into the third eye. We open up our psychic senses, like most of you are doing now, and have been doing as well. We connect with spirit, and then we start to connect with these other chakras above. And so we have the causal above. We have the soul star, the stellar gateway, I am mastery. We've got all of that above. The first one is the causal, and it doesn't. It's not so much above, but kind of behind the nape of your neck. It's sort of around here, but it connects to the soul star. It's like the soul star is here, and there's a connection that connects and comes in here. And it doesn't, this won't connect, you won't connect to this, the soul star, unless your crown chakra is open. And when your crown chakra is open, then you connect to the soul star, and it comes in this way. It comes around the back and comes in through the causal chakra. The causal chakra is like a slipway. Yeah, that's fine, Megan. Sure, you can catch up later. The causal chakra is like a slipway that where the higher spirit, your higher self, comes into the body, and then you start to become what we call the higher self. I mean, whenever we start to wake up, we start to talk about connecting to spirit, connecting to your spirit guides, and then eventually we start to talk about the higher self. There's me, there's just my ordinary person that I am, and with all my traits, good and bad, and then my ordinary ego consciousness, and then there's this consciousness that suddenly something happens to me and I'm shifted into what we call unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, and that happens when the heart's open. When the heart's open and you balance that masculine and feminine self energy, light that you are, and it's moving through your energy field like a figure eight. When you balance that, we say the twin flame is lit in the heart. And then what is created then is, do you remember the orb? So this is divine feminine and this is divine masculine, and those twin flames are lit in the heart and they're coming together. Then what they create is a divinity, a divine child, a Christ. So we're now Christed. And we open up into like a higher heart, and we start to talk about the higher self. And the higher self comes in when we open the crown chakra, and the soul star slips through the slipway, which is the causal chakra, and down into our heart and right down through the creation process, through our body, through all those other chakras. The soul star is you in your entirety. The soul star is that, your consciousness, with all your past lives, your angelic self, your past life selves, this self, and we call it the higher self. But I also like to call it the soul family. And that soul family is all of those seven bodily chakras united and working as one through the heart, through love, as Sharon said. We become the Christ consciousness. We take on an aspect of Christ consciousness, and we start to vibrate at that level. We start to vibrate at a level that, let's say it's, we're emanating a higher light. We're emanating the light of Christ, light of unity consciousness, the light of love, and we're emanating the light of love, of bliss, of peace. And it's there on the path. You're not going to go past it. If you haven't already achieved peace, you are going to. If you've had an awakening, you are going to achieve peace, because it's on your path. It's there. You're not going to go past it. And you can't stop waking up. You can't just wake up a little bit and then be only a little bit wakened for the rest of your life. No, you wake up, and whether or not it takes you the rest of your life to awaken, you are going to ascend. That's why you're here in this lifetime. And listen, guys, that's why we're all here together talking with these concepts at this level. You know, you might think, oh, I've just woken up, I don't understand this, but you are ready. Your soul is ready to receive the emanations, the light of all of these words, of all of this wisdom and knowledge. Your soul is so ready to be here. There are no mistakes. So you're ready. You're definitely supposed to be in this group. We're all in it together. We're all doing this together. We're all waking each other up, walking each other home. And whether you think that you're at the beginning, or that you're in the Christ consciousness, or whether you're experiencing eternal light, it doesn't matter. You're going to get there. Because those great masters that came before us, Black Elk included, they didn't come to show us a story just about themselves. They came to show us a story about us. They came to say, listen guys, this is who you are, this is what you're doing, this is why you're here. Most of all, Master Jesus, he said, everything that I can do, you can do too. He was a master of the intuition. You can be as well. And you will be. You will. So we first connect with the soul star, and this is our past lives. So we're remembering past lives. We feel ourselves coming together as in unity consciousness. We start to realize all of these things that I'm talking about. It's like you'll see it from your own perspective, and you'll find that completeness and fullness, and of course I know what Eliza was talking about now. This is what it feels like. It feels like everything is one. Even though I know that the universe around me is all aspects of my consciousness, pieces of light in form, it looks like it's outside of myself. A lot of the time it feels like it's, outside of myself, and I'm reacting to it as if it's outside of myself. But I can also experience that unity consciousness where you feel at one with it, and it feels like peace. It's Christ consciousness. It's a peaceful feeling, and it's deep, and it's silent, and the dark doesn't feel like heavy anymore. Dark is simply dark, and light is simply light, and joy is simply joy, and sorrow is simply sorrow, and you don't react to any of it, ideally. But that's what's possible. That's what guys like us are doing now. We're practicing every day, and we're able to pass it on to you guys. So when you connect to the soul star, you're connecting to all of that. And then you're connecting then to the stellar gateway, which is kind of like an opening, another opening. There's lots of chakras, but some of those chakras are openings, slipways. So this stellar gateway is a gateway to the universal self. You could say the stellar gateway is a gateway to the eternal light. Black Cat calls it the eternal one, beloved source, God. A lot of people call that God. And then you can only imagine that when you are vibing at that level of frequency, the only thing to do then is either to come back to earth as a servant, which the masters do, and many of us here, probably including every single one of you, are here because we're masters and we're in service to humanity. In fact, Black Elf's correcting me, every human alive today is a master in service to humanity. You've already ascended. That's how you know you're going to do it this time. You've already done it. You just don't remember. And now you're remembering, you're walking yourself through your memory. So, you know, you reach that level of light, eternal light, and the only thing to do then is to turn around, come back down, descend, become, you know, a master on earth, and wake humanity up, wake the earth up, bring in a new world, a new era of consciousness completely. Or create other galaxies, other universes. Go off on another mad experience, you know. It is indeed, Clet, it's awesome. Mariana, it's awesome in the true senses of the word. Clet, I feel unworthy to feel this. Thank you, sorry, I need to be here right now. Yeah, you do, because Clet, even though you might feel that you're not worthy of this, that's just your ego. Not in my world. Witness it, listen to it, and say to it, do you know what, Clet? That's just, you're just mistaken. It's just because you don't remember. You don't remember that you're awesome. You don't remember that you're all of this. But you're remembering now. Let's talk about the aura and the energy field, just motoring quickly on because I don't want to go over time. The energy field, I've mentioned it a few times now. I've talked about your energy field shifts. Your energy field shifts its frequency as you take in light from the world, as you take in light from your subconscious, as you wake up. Your energy field shifts frequency and you start to vibe on a higher frequency, and then you're emanating those higher vibes as well, and it's waking the world up. So it's a two-way process, isn't it? We're waking each other up, and yet it's all one being, which is 0 point. It's eternal light playing at being darkness, playing at being separate forms. A lot of people talk, the Pleiadians, who are extraterrestrial beings from the Pleiades, they have channeled a lot of information over this last 40 years or so, since the 80s, 40 years or so, yeah. They have talked an awful lot about this experiment, this Earth experiment, where light is playing and being individual and playing at being form, and it's a game that we're playing, stories that we're telling, and I like to refer to that as well. So we'll probably refer to that when we're talking about past lives. Now I want to talk about the energy field, and I've got another couple of photographs in that in that photo album, and this is one of them. This shows the energy field. Can you see that? Yeah, it shows it, and I don't know if you can see or not, but there's 7 sort of very definite layers around the energy field, within the energy field, and they're all different colours, and all those colours correspond to the 7 main chakras, or the colours of the rainbow. And they go from inside to outside. So the red is the densest, obviously that's closest to the physical body, and then you go orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. And here's the aura. You can see it looks a bit different. It doesn't look so much like layers, but it's just like coloured lights around the body. And that's because the aura and the energy field are two very different things, but they're intricate at the same time. The energy field usually comes out to about here. You know, maybe there's my hand, so it comes out to about this close to the body, all around the body. But the aura can expand way out. The aura is your emanations, the vibrations that you're projecting from your soul. We call them emanations, and of course that's light. It's information. It's light, and light has got colour. When you see it through water, which is the physical form, you can see different coloured lights. The light, what do you call it? We talk about the light spectrum of the rainbow. So you've got this spectrum of light, and according to what's going on in your energy field, whether you're happy, sad, confused, heavy energy, light energy, connected to source, stuck in the root chakra, whatever, you will see that in the light around your body. So you'll see, as you begin to work with healing with other people, and use your psychic sense of clairvoyance, you'll begin to see, for me at the beginning it was light and dark. I saw light and dark. So if someone had a headache, for example, and I'm looking at them into their energy field, I'll see a dark shadow over their head. But just as easily as I would see the dark shadow over their head, I would see light around them as well, and you feel it, and that's called clair sentience. You feel the light, you feel the shadow, and you usually feel it with your solar plexus, with your stomach, as you would feel somebody's anger or feel somebody's joy. When you feel somebody's joy, you get the butterflies in your stomach, and your stomach feels really light. And when you feel somebody's anger, your stomach feels heavy and and contracts and gets painful, perhaps in your bowels and whatnot and so forth. So these are things that as you're working with healing, and I know an awful lot of you are working with healing and know this basic stuff, so bear with me for those that are starting at the basics, and we totally will, when we're talking about healing, we will expand into the intricate later on in the course. But this energy field you can connect with, and there's a very simple exercise that, or there's actually a couple of different exercises that you can do right now with me, just to show you the energy field. And one of them is to feel the energy field. If you put your 2 hands like this and just, you've got chakras in those hands as well. There's many different kinds of chakras. There's the main chakras, there's the chakras outside your body, and there's these slipways, and then there's all these chakras such as, your knee chakras, your hand chakras, your feet chakras. So you've got these chakras in your hands, and if you bring them very, very, just bring your awareness, put your hands like this, and bring your awareness into your hands. Bring all your attention. You can feel them tingling a little bit, starting to buzz as you give your attention solely to your hands. and bring your hands together very, very slowly. And at one point, when you bring your hands together, there's going to be a point of resistance where you feel like, gosh, what is that? And what's happened is the energy field around your right hand has met with the energy field around your left hand. And what happens when two emanations or two projectory forces meet? The orb, the circle. You feel like you have a ball in your hand. A lot of people do this with Reiki, you know. You can feel that. I don't know if you guys can feel that, but you can feel that in your hands. So just throw me up a few comments there if you're feeling it already. I would say many of you are used to this. But that's one exercise that you can do. You can actually feel, this is clairsentience, this is one of the psychic gifts. And you can feel that energy field coming together to form an orb. Yeah, it can be very strong, Kelly. And you feel, and the more you work with it, like you know, you can see me moving my hands back and forth. The more you play with this ball, it's almost like the more solid it gets. It's like it's getting heavy, and more solid, and it's like, gosh, you really feel now like you're holding a ball. You can use that ball of energy, because that's pure light, that energy, that ball. You can send that ball of energy off, we call it an orb. You can send that off and say, listen, hey, on you go out to Tony, and heal Tony, and see it and visualize it going right into Tony's heart. You know, you don't have to be with the person that you're healing. You can use this, and you can just send it on. Yeah, Julie, you've been doing that a long time. You know how to do that. So for those people that don't know as well, clairvoyance, opening up your clairvoyance. A lot of people are clairvoyant. It's a very, very common psychic sense to have. Not as common as clairaudience, which is clear hearing, but clairvoyance is a very common. And we're going to go through all of those senses throughout, and teach you how to use your intuition and how to connect with all those psychic senses. So, and you know, some of you guys will have maybe clairvoyance. A lot of you will have clairvoyance. Some of you will have clairaudience. A lot of you will have clairsentience. Most people have clairsentience. Even people that aren't awake have clairsentience. But there's some people have them all. I have them all. You know, there's clair taste, where I can taste, you know, what lemon, or I can taste salt, or I can taste something that I associate with spirit, with a particular spirit. So I've got that clairseverance. I've got that clairscent, where I smell. I can smell lemon. I can smell salt. I smell the beach. I can smell maybe paraffin oil. I can smell paint. Smell smoke. One of very, very common thing with yeah, my hands are tingling away. We do this in Qigong. All right, Emma. Yeah, and Reiki and things like that. You know, any of those healing modalities, and sort of, you know, what would you call them, alternative lifestyles or whatever. You will learn how to work with energy and how to experience energy, as a basis for them, I think. For me, it was Reiki at the beginning. So, yeah, clairscent, clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance is not as common, and claircognizance is where you just know. And I think claircognizance is, I think, um, comes from when we use our intuition and we get a feeling and we just know, a feeling in the heart, and we just know. I don't ask me how I know that, but I know that that's the way it is. Yeah, Kelly. Oh, coconut. Coconut's my favourite smell, my favourite taste. um, so, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsent, clairseverance, clairsentience, which is feeling, touching, and experiencing energy, um, and a claircognizance, which is just knowing. And then there's scanning, which is what you do with Reiki and a lot of hands-on healing, where you feel the energy underneath your hands. You you feel it with your heart, with your hand chakras, and you scan a person's body, or you scan an energy field. You're actually scanning the energy field, and you can feel it in the palms of your hands. And shamans will start to feel it with their fingers and in their mouths and stuff like that. You know, this is what I do. And then you're into sort of shamanic healing and working with physical mediumship for psychic surgery and stuff like that. There, I talk all about that in my shamanic classes. So all of these things are on my website. Whenever I mention anything that's not to do with this class, you can find all that on my website. Just go on and have a wee browse, and if you're interested, just let me know. But yeah, I'm just checking the time. So yeah, we don't have very much left. So um, the aura and the energy field. We can experience the energy field through various different ways, and one is this, and another one is through scanning, so you can feel it underneath your hand. Now, whenever you when we're done tonight, go to your husband, go to your son, go to your friend or your sister or whatever, and ask their permission for you to scan their energy field, and just spend a moment very close to their body, but not actually touching, and feel that energy, and come in and out. You feel the different consistencies touching your hand. You can feel it, as I do this, I can feel the vibrations starting to tingle, and then they loosen, and then they're starting to tingle and they loosen, yeah, as I come in and out of my hands, and using that ball. Another one is to actually see, clairvoyantly see the energy field, and we can see the energy field when we put our two fingers together like this. Now, not completely together. Again, it's like the hands. When you feel the point of resistance, stop. You do it with fingers. You can feel the point of resistance. And the energy field of my right hand finger and my left hand finger are touching, and the orb is formed, which is the basis of all form, of all life, of all physical thing. So here's a soul, here's an orb, and I'm touching it and I'm holding it between my fingers. I hope you guys are doing this as well. Now, if you just look between your fingers and just relax your vision a little bit. Don't look directly at your fingers, but look at something between your fingers and beyond your fingers. I'm looking at the computer, and you'll start to see a sort of just around each finger a very sort of milky, even maybe a very light grey vision of a line around the fingers, and it's filled with this sort of light, milky kind of hazy sort of thing. It's energy, hazy energy. So those are things that you can practice. Also practice looking at to open up your clairvoyance. Practice looking, say, for example, at a tree. Early morning and sunset is ideal for this kind of exercise. Look at the tree, look at the uppermost branches, and look beyond them. So it's almost as if you're looking right through them, and you'll relax your physical vision so much that you'll begin to see that hazy energy field around the leaves of the tree. The aura then, it expands out because it's your emanations. Everything's got an energy field. Even the glass has got an energy field. It's probably this close, like millimeters close to the glass, and I can see the energy field around it. You can see the energy field as you move your fingers. So if you put all your fingers like this and relax your vision past your fingertips so that you're seeing that little bit of a hazy energy around every finger, and then just move your fingers in and out. And especially if you do this up against a dark background, a plain dark background, you can see, I can feel that energy pulling, and I can see like little trails of white energy. Yeah, and yes, and heat, Virgin, you can feel heat as well. The more you work with it, the more it heats up. And this is like the energy's stringy, you know. It's like you're pulling the energy. You know, you see healers that are working on your energy field, and they'll start to pull your energy like this, you know. So these are all things that we'll talk about with healing. We've just got a few minutes left, so I think what we'll do is round it up. I didn't exactly talk about levels of consciousness, so I'll take a note and we'll talk about that when we begin next week. Gosh, I love this. I absolutely loved it. Thank you all very, very much for listening. Definitely feeling the energy and the heat. Thank you, Bridgine. Yeah, and you experienced scent, Alicia. Yeah, and Kelly, you're getting the clear scent as well. Yeah, all of these things, as I said before, the clear senses, the psychic senses, they're so intricately related to your physical senses that they're really one and the same. You know, everything in duality is one and the same. Up and down is the same. In and out is the same. Light and darkness is the same. Body and spirit is the same. Yeah? And your psychic senses and your physical senses are the same. It's when you relax. I'm going to leave you with this. It's when you allow yourself to relax and not try. And as Sharon says, just simply be. And then your psychic sense, your physical senses give way over to your psychic senses. Do this exercise for 10 minutes every day before we come back next week, or 20 minutes. Sit down as if you're going to meditate, and just listen. Do it outside. It's better to do it outside. Listen to all the sounds that you can hear, and don't stay on any particular sound. Listen with, there's a sound in this ear, now there's a sound in that ear, and there's a bird sang over here, and my stomach growled, or I just yawned, or somebody spoke over here, or the bird chirped in the sky, or a car went past. All of these sounds, just keep listening and quickly change from one to another, nice and relaxed, not even thinking about them. Don't even think about them, just keep shifting. And after about 10 minutes, you'll start to feel a shift from your physical senses into your intuition. You'll start to see things, maybe hear things This is a quick fire way of awakening your psychic senses. So if you do that after about 10 minutes, it takes about 10 minutes. I mean, for me it takes, 10 seconds, but that's because I've been doing it for years. Yeah, but when you start off, it might take you 10 minutes to fully relax and begin to use the intuition, the psychic senses. Yeah, thank you too very much, Julie. Thank you, everybody. I'm very conscious of time. I don't want to go over. I am a gabbler by 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 um, by a rule. I do like to gabble, but I'm being strict with myself, and I hope you'll be strict with me too. Thank you to Claire. Thank you to everybody. Um, Drop a. I probably won't get through all the messages now, all the comments now, but if you want to do that, even just to drop me a message or whatever, if there's something you need to ask, um, about connecting with energy, experiencing energy, or connecting with your psychic senses with those two exercises. If there's anything you want to ask,